Why are early Boston punk venues disappearing? Imagine a city where loud guitars, wild crowds, and rebellious energy once filled the night air. That was Boston in the late 1970s and early 1980s. Back then, venues like the Rathskeller, known as the Rat, and the Chanlin Fort Point were the heart of Boston's punk scene. These places weren't just spots to see bands. They were communities where young people shared ideas and expressed themselves freely. Bands like the Pixies, the Cars, and SSD played in these spaces, shaping the sound and attitude of Boston punk. But today, many of those venues are gone. So what caused this shift? One big reason is urban development. As Boston grew, neighborhoods changed. Land that once housed small punk clubs became prime real estate for new offices, condos, and shopping centers. The Channel, for example, was replaced by a General Electric building. Rising property prices and rents made it hard for small venues to stay open. They just couldn't afford the costs anymore. Gentrification also played a role. As wealthier people moved into these areas, they often didn't want loud, messy punk shows nearby. Noise complaints and stricter city rules made it tougher for underground venues to operate. Many spaces that thrived on minimal permits or informal setups faced shutdowns because of these regulations. The DIY spirit was strong but not always legal, and increased policing pushed many underground spaces out of business. Changes in how people listened to music also impacted the scene. Digital music and streaming made it easier to hear punk at home or on the go. Larger venues and commercial spaces replaced small clubs, making shows less intimate. The raw, underground vibe that made early Boston punk special started to fade as the scene moved into more polished environments. Some venues closed but were replaced by others with different focuses. For example, after the Rat shut down in 1990 and 1991, Brighton Music Hall opened in its place in 2010. It was more corporate and less about punk rebellion. This shift reflects how the music industry and city priorities changed over time. Even with these closures, some places like the Middle East in Cambridge still support punk and alternative music. But losing those original venues means losing part of Boston's punk history. These spaces weren't just stages. They were places where a community grew, where rebellion and creativity thrived. So, the disappearance of early Boston punk venues is mainly due to economic pressures from urban growth, stricter laws, and the evolving ways people experience music. These factors have transformed Boston's punk scene from a gritty, grassroots movement into a more regulated and commercial environment. That's why many of those iconic spaces are gone, but their spirit still lives on in the music and the memories they left behind.